What was pertinent from the presser?
I think that it sounds, and I mean, they kind of blend at this point. I think it sounds really clear that they're definitely interested in trading up. Just because, I mean, you hear Jerry talking about it, that he got a follow-up. He got a follow-up about trading up after he had said something about it at that press conference a couple weeks ago. And that sent him into a 5-minute answer where he just kind of talked around and around, but talked about how, well, it'd be foolish not to consider things and yada, yada. And then I think when you couple that with immediately after that answer, Steven says, we have 14 to 16 first-round grades, and that's so much lower than we've had in the past. Then I think it makes sense why you're seeing them look to move up. I think if the right guys fall to the early to mid-teen, like if you're talking about like 10, 11, 12, like get into the mid-teens or whatever right there, I think they would definitely consider trading up for the right guys.
Who would some of those names be?
So I think if you're going up, you're either going up for somebody that really, I think you're going up for somebody you like regardless, but you're going up for somebody who really fits a need, being on the offensive line. I don't think you're getting Evan Neal. I don't think you're getting Ike Ekwonu, the top tackles who are probably going in the top 5. So you're looking at Charles Cross, the offensive tackle from Mississippi State, a guy who I think they think could play left guard in the interim and then eventually be groomed as Tyron's replacement. That's who Broadus has said his body type reminds him of, is young Tyron. And he's a mauler, and he's played big SEC competition and done really, really well. Trevor Penning from Northern Iowa is the other one who, he's a big guy. It'd be tougher for him to play guard, but I think he could do it. And so I think they've been moving up for one of those. So you're either moving up for a real position of need, or you're moving up for somebody that you're absolutely in love with. And the guy that they would be absolutely in love with would be Drake London from USC, the wide receiver.
Is this what Lombardi talked about yesterday? Jerry's a lover, and don't be a lover. That's the
it's not. It's not Jerry though. That's the room loves Drake London.
No, I know, but Jerry's like he's just the face.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever he thinks, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's the face, except if they pick Taco. Yeah. Then Steven's the face.
Right, that's Steven's face.
Was there any little bit of Steven that was like uncomfortable with Jerry's joke yesterday? I wonder how much of this offseason has gotten to Steven, if at all.
I don't think so. I think he appreciated it. He's, you guys have seen them when they're in their press conference mode. If Jerry's talking and he's on a long answer, which he was, that was that 5-minute answer he was given, Steven will kind of like stare directly off into the audience and kind of wait for his turn. And it was as soon as the joke came out, you saw him kind of like move from like chuckling, and then he smiled. So I don't know. I think he thought it was funny. I mean, he played around with it. But
do you have any comps for Drake London?
So Broadus thinks he reminds him of bigger Adam Thielen. To me, he's Michael Thomas.
Oh,
and so I mean, like he's a true X. He's not a burner, but I mean, he's a guy who like. I heard somebody say this the other day, and I think it's totally accurate. It's like, it's not a 50-50 ball when you throw it up to, it's 80-20, like consistently. He is always just, mossing defensive backs, and there's not, his catch radius is insane. He's a big guy. He's 6'4". He's 220 pounds. He's not going to be like this burner. He didn't run the 40 this year because he's not going to do it. But it's one of the things I like seeing is when a defense knows that's all they got, that's the guy we got to take away, and you still put up numbers. Mm-hmm. That to me is like, okay, that says something in the evaluation. This is a guy who like consistently was putting up like 10 receptions, 180 yards, 8 receptions, 140 yards. Like, I mean, until he broke his ankle in the middle of the season. But before that, it was very like Michael Thomas volume numbers. And so that's kind of the same guy that I see. The catch radius is great. The hands are great. I mean, people have complained about he had some drops, but I think that's more of a factor of there was so much volume, and he's so often like got 2 people draped on him, pulling on his arms, and
Bobby Belt, Cowboys Insider in studio. NFL draft coverage tomorrow night, brought to you by Pluckers and Miller Lite. What is your order? Or if you know their order, that's even better. But what is your order of Cowboy draft needs?
I think they believe their order is offensive line, receiver, and edge. I think that's accurate. That's the thing I'd heard consistently coming out of Indy, and I think the more you hear and see who they're talking to and find out where they have guys ranked, I think that's what you're seeing it break out. I think in their dream scenario, they would get an offensive lineman in the first round, they'd address receiver in the second, and then they'd get some sort of an edge rusher in the third. Maybe tight end in the third if the right guy's there to them. But third, fourth, you can maybe flip-flop edge and tight end.
So in a dream scenario of drafting a lineman in the first round with their first pick, it would be for what position, ideally?
They want somebody, I think, with guard tackle flexibility. They want the future at left tackle, but somebody they could play at guard now.
Okay.
And so I think that's one of the reasons they have Kenyon Green. I believe they have Kenyon Green a little ahead of Zion Johnson, the guard at Boston College, because Kenyon Green, we've seen him take reps. He played against Alabama. Will Anderson, who's going to be a top 5 pick in 2023, had 31 tackles for loss this last year at Alabama, was getting stonewalled by Kenyon Green, who had to bounce out to left tackle and play that game. So Green can do that. There's a question about Green's medicals that I'm waiting on more information about today. There's a question about the knee. If the Cowboys went Zion over Kenyon Green, I think that would be the only reason why. But I think that's a legitimate question at this point, is how well do they feel about the knee?
What would the chances be of them taking, let's say they stay at 24, taking a lineman? What are the odds that they move back into the first round later on?
Oh, and I think next to none. I don't think they'd pick at 24 and come back into the first. You never say never, but I think when you hear Steven talk about like it's not heavy in the first and second round, it's deep in rounds 3 through 5. I don't think they're looking at doing that. In fact, I think if they were at 24 and they have a couple names they like, I could see them just moving back a couple. Let's pick up some extra picks later in the draft. We've already got plenty in round 5. Let's pick up a little bit of extra capital.
But you think it's more likely if you had to pick one, trade up versus trade back?
100%, because I think when you hear them talk about 14 first-round grades, they're worried somebody's not getting to them. And they love those 3 players, I think, Penning, Cross, and London.